The dropship's hull groaned as it pierced the humid atmosphere of Zaleria 9. Vines the size of buildings coiled beneath the cloud line, wrapping ancient ruins lost to both human and alien memory. Commander Elias Voss stared through the reinforced viewport, silent. He'd seen battlefields, diplomatic courts, even the shattered moons left behind by Zalari warships. But this was different. This was where peace had to begin. Or die. Commander, the pilot said, glancing back. We'll touch down in 2. Good, Elias replied, voice flat. He adjusted the black diplomatic sash across his chest, its edge stitched with silver threads bearing Earth's unified emblem. Not a medal, not a decoration, just a symbol. A fragile one. As the ramp hissed open, jungle heat and bioluminescent mist poured in. A contingent of Zalari guards awaited. Towering figures in silver armor, their skin glowing with faint light, etched with tribal markings. None smiled. One stepped forward. 8 feet tall, muscles like coiled steel, and violet eyes narrowed with distaste. I am Warlord Tiso, he growled. You are late. I'm not here for ceremony, Elias replied, stepping down, eyes level with the warrior's chest. The guards bristled. Tiso's lip curled in restrained contempt. She waits. Elias followed, ignoring the stares, the whispers, the hands resting too eagerly on plasma blades. He wasn't a fool. The Zalari didn't want peace. They wanted proof that no human was worthy of bonding with their kind. And every man Earth sent before had failed. But he wasn't them. They entered a towering spire carved from living crystal. The air shimmered with energy. Murals etched into the walls told of wars, gods, and the ancient rite known only as the bonding. Elias was led into a vast chamber, ringed with council elders. And at the center she stood. Velora. She was breathtaking. Not just tall, elegant, otherworldly. Her long, silvery white hair flowed past glowing blue shoulders adorned with sacred markings. Her eyes, deep and ageless, locked onto his with quiet intensity. She tilted her head. You do not kneel. Elias stepped forward, unflinching. No. I stand as your equal. Murmurs erupted across the chamber. One elder snarled. Another hissed. Velora raised a hand. Silence followed. You speak boldly, she said. But words mean little in this place. I came to do more than speak, Elias replied. She descended from the platform, each step deliberate. Standing before him, she towered over him by more than a foot, yet he didn't back down. Her scent was earthy, electric. She extended a hand, not in greeting, but in test. Touch me. The room grew tense. Elias knew the meaning. A Zalari female's touch, when offered during the ritual of harmony, could rupture a weaker mind. It was how they tested emotional resilience. And every human before him had failed. Elias took her hand. The shock was immediate. A pulse, not of electricity, but memory rushed through him. Visions, a war-scarred battlefield, Zalari children hiding beneath rubble, a human soldier dragging their broken bodies to safety. The face in the memory, his. Velora's eyes widened. She saw it too. You were there, she whispered. I remember. She released his hand slowly, but her fingers lingered, just slightly. The elders were silent now. Even Tiso looked unsure. Velora turned back to the council. He is not like the others. An elder stood. He is human. His seed cannot take root. Elias clenched his jaw. Then test me. Gasps echoed through the hall. Velora looked at him again, this time, curious. And something more. That night, Elias was brought to a secluded sanctum beneath the spire. It glowed with soft blue light from floating crystal orbs. He sat alone, shirt off, waiting. The ritual required exposure, both physical and emotional. When the door slid open, she entered. No armor. No adornments. Just her. Do you understand what the trial means? She asked quietly. I survive the psychic resonance. Or I'm deemed unworthy. And if you fail, your mind may not return, she said, stepping closer. You could forget who you are. Elias looked up, steady. Then you'll have to remind me. A flicker of something danced across her face, humor. Warmth. They sat facing each other, legs crossed. Velora extended her hands again, and Elias placed his within them. Close your eyes, she said. The world dissolved. He was falling, no, drifting through memories that weren't his. Her childhood, alone in massive halls. Her first battle, the scream of plasma blades. A friend lost, her own heart breaking. Then, silence. And then, him. Her memory of meeting him, calm, resolute, steady amidst a storm of doubt. She had been skeptical. Now she wasn't. Pain surged through his skull. He gritted his teeth. I see you, Velora whispered, her voice everywhere. And I feel something strange. Elias opened his eyes. Blood trickled from his nose. His heart pounded. But he was still himself. She leaned closer, pressing her forehead to his. You remain. The trial was over. The next morning, the council gathered again. Tiso stepped forward, clearly displeased. The trial does not make him Zelari. No, Velora said calmly, standing beside Elias. But neither does blood make one worthy. Tiso glared at Elias. You will never sire one of ours. Elias didn't respond with words. He turned to Velora, took her hand again, and this time, she didn't pull away. Their fingers interlocked. The room fell silent. The war wasn't over. But something had begun. Something none of them had expected. Zeliria 9's nights were never dark. Bioluminescent vines pulsed across the forest canopy like veins in a living sky. Beneath their glow, Elias walked beside Velora in silence, his boots sinking into moss that shimmered underfoot. She led him away from the spire, down winding stone paths etched with glowing glyphs. No guards. No council. Just the two of them. Where are we going? He asked. I want you to see what they never let the others see. She moved with grace, her long limbs shifting silently between tree trunks as though the jungle parted for her. Elias followed, his senses alert, yet grounded by the sound of her voice, low, melodic, alien, and yet familiar now. At last, they reached a small clearing. A single tree stood at its center, tall and ancient, its bark clear as crystal, humming with energy. Blue blossoms clung to its branches like fireflies. Velora approached it and placed her hand against the trunk. This is the memory tree, she said. It holds the thoughts of my people, recorded over centuries. The tree pulsed beneath her touch. A ripple of light spread across its surface. Only bonded minds can access it freely. I want you to try. Elias stepped forward, uncertain. I'm not Zelari. But I am. And I've touched you. Their eyes met. She nodded once. Tentatively, he placed his palm on the bark. A rush of sensation swept through him, warmth, wind, whispers. Then, images. Children playing in glowing fields. Warriors mourning lost brothers. A queen, kneeling in solitude. Then her, Velora, standing in a chamber with her back turned, alone beneath judgmental stares. He gasped and stepped back. It's all real, he said quietly. Do you understand now why the others failed? Her voice was soft, almost sad. They came to claim a title. You came to understand. He looked at her, really looked. The stoicism she carried before was still there, but now it trembled under something more human, vulnerability. I didn't expect any of this, Elias said. Not the tree, not the memories, not you. Velora turned her gaze to him. And yet, you're still here. There was a pause. The air thickened between them. Her fingers brushed his wrist, casual, but intentional. A soft heat bloomed beneath his skin. I've never touched a human like this before, she murmured. Not with peace in my heart. He smiled faintly. That makes two of us. Their walk back was slower. She guided him through a glowing ravine where bioluminescent water flowed like liquid starlight. The silence between them wasn't empty, it buzzed with meaning. Suddenly, Velora stopped. Elias, she said quietly, the council doesn't know what we shared tonight. They wouldn't approve. He raised an eyebrow. You outrank them. Technically. But I am not their queen. Not yet. He studied her expression, the tight line of her mouth, the tension in her jaw. You're afraid they'll try to stop this. She nodded once. And they won't be alone. Back inside the sanctum, Elias was given a private chamber carved into the crystalline rock. Its walls glowed with pale blue light, and the floor pulsed gently like a heartbeat. There was no door, just a veil of shimmering energy. No locks on this planet, he realized. Just trust. Or the illusion of it. Later that night, as he lay on the bed, a voice called out. "You're awake." Velora stood just beyond the energy veil, framed in soft light. She stepped through, slow and deliberate, wearing a dark robe that shimmered with violet threads. He sat up, heart racing. Did something happen? No, she walked toward him, calm and confident. "I just couldn't sleep." She sat beside him, close enough that he could feel the warmth of her skin. "I keep seeing what you saw in the tree," she whispered. "The boy, your brother?" Elias looked down. "Yeah. He was killed during the retaliation raids. I never forgave the universe for that. Yet you came here to make peace." "I came here to stop it from happening again. To someone else's brother." Velora was quiet, absorbing every word. Then she reached out and placed her hand on his chest, just above his heart. "Your rhythm, it's louder than mine." "That's adrenaline," he joked softly. "No," she said, smiling for the first time. "It's something else." For a long moment, neither spoke. Then she said, "Would you let me show you a vision?" Elias nodded. "If it's yours." Velora leaned forward, pressing her forehead gently to his. Her skin was soft, cool, electric. The moment contact was made, the room vanished. He stood beside her, holding an infant with glowing blue skin and piercing hazel eyes. Around them, Zalari and humans stood in harmony, building something together, a hall of unity, a new future. The child giggled, reaching toward the sky. Then the vision shifted. Velora fell to her knees in agony. Council members screamed. Elias was dragged away by guards. And in the shadows, General Sirach watched, unmoved. Elias gasped and pulled back. "That wasn't a dream," he said. "It was a warning." Velora nodded grimly. "My body is already changing. The bonding may have taken root." Elias stood. "They'll try to stop it." "Not just them," she said. "Sirach won't rest until the child is gone. He sees it as betrayal." Elias clenched his fists. "Then we don't give him the chance." Velora placed a hand on her abdomen, her expression unreadable. "I never thought I'd carry life. Not from a human. Not from anyone." Elias stepped closer, gently placing his palm over hers. "You're not alone now." The silence that followed was deep and still, broken only by the faint thrum of energy running through the sanctum walls. Outside, somewhere deep in the jungle, metal stirred. And a traitor prepared to strike. The council chamber erupted the moment the scan confirmed what no one had expected. "She is carrying a child." The medic's voice trembled as he lowered the biopad. Gasps echoed across the crystalline chamber. One elder dropped her staff. General Sirach didn't flinch. His glowing eyes locked onto Elias with open disdain. "This is a violation," he said coldly. "No human seed should take root within our blood." Velora stood beside Elias, her face calm but unreadable. "This is not contamination. It is creation." Sirach's voice darkened. "It is treason." Elias stepped forward. "We fulfilled the bonding rite. The trial. The vision tree. Every tradition your people demanded, we followed. You don't get to change the rules because the outcome frightens you. You think this is fear?" Sirach sneered. "You brought weakness into our lineage. A diluted bloodline." Velora's voice cut him off. "Enough." She rarely raised her voice. But now, her tone was iron. "I am the vessel of the bond. I accepted it freely. I saw his soul and opened mine in return. What grows inside me is not shame. It is the proof that peace can live." The silence that followed was heavy. Sirach turned, cape whipping behind him as he stormed from the chamber. They returned to the sanctum in silence. Even the bioluminescent walls seemed dimmer now. Elias sat on the edge of the bed, head in his hands. "This changes everything." "Yes," Velora said quietly. "And that is why they fear it." He looked up. "How safe are we here?" She hesitated. Not enough. Before he could respond, a sharp buzz echoed through the chamber. The energy veil at the entrance flickered, then vanished entirely. Velora. I disabled it. Why? She stepped close, voice low. If Sirik comes, I want us free to run, not caged by false security. The next day, the outer perimeter guards failed to report. By dusk, whispers began to spread through the spire, soldiers missing, power conduits cut, temple gates unlocked. But no alarms were raised. Not yet. Sirik was patient. Calculated. When Elias entered the armory chamber, the weapon vaults had been stripped clean. He's moving, Elias said, jaw tight. He's planning something fast, before the council can act. Velora nodded. He's stalling them with ceremony while he prepares for a purge. Elias turned. Then we move first. They escaped under cover of nightfall, leaving behind the flickering lights of the spire for the humid, alien jungle. Only one Zalari came with them, a silent loyalist named Oren, who had once served under Velora's mother. His body was scarred, but his loyalty never wavered. This way, Oren said, leading them into the overgrowth. There's a chamber in the jungle heart. Old, sacred, hidden. They won't look there. Elias moved beside Velora, one hand gently at her back as she pushed forward. Though tall and strong, she was already changing. Her steps slower. Her breath heavier. How do you feel? He asked. She looked at him, a flicker of concern in her expression. Like the child is growing faster than expected. They reached the hidden chamber at dawn. A cavern, lined with glowing moss and ancient stone markings, tucked behind a waterfall veiled by vines. Oren stood guard while Elias helped Velora inside. She sat slowly, wincing as she touched her side. Elias knelt beside her, his voice soft. We'll keep you safe. Velora looked at him, eyes searching. This child, it may change the galaxy. But you've already changed me. He took her hand. I didn't come here to change you. Then why did you stay? He paused. Because no one else saw what I saw in you. And I couldn't look away. She smiled, tired, but warm. Then the sky cracked open. A high-pitched roar echoed across the jungle. Dropships. Zalari warcraft. Sirik wasn't waiting anymore. Oren burst through the curtain of vines. They're coming. 10 warriors. No council insignia. Rogues, Elias muttered. He turned to Velora. Can you move? She stood slowly, holding her stomach. I can fight. No, Elias said firmly. You protect the child. I'll handle the rest. She grabbed his wrist. Elias. He turned. Her eyes burned. If I lose you. You won't. He kissed her then, brief, firm, final. Then he vanished into the trees. Elias moved like a shadow. He'd fought Zalari before, knew their footwork, their formation, their pride. But this wasn't war. This was survival. He laid traps along the outer trail, plasma lines, sound triggers, flash spikes. He picked them off one by one. A scout sliced down by a branch tripwire. Another blinded by a flare and knocked out cold. But Sirik didn't come. Not until the very end. He stepped through the mist like death incarnate, sword humming, armor scorched with battle runes. You think a single human can stop what's coming? Elias raised his blade. Not a human. A father. They clashed. Steel against steel. Bone against will. Sirik was stronger, faster, ruthless. But Elias was fighting for something far more dangerous than duty, hope. The final strike was clean. Elias pivoted, ducked beneath a swing, and drove the blade through Sirik's side. The general fell, snarling, clutching the wound. You'll doom us all, Sirik spat. No, Elias said, standing over him. You already did. He left him there, bleeding under the jungle canopy. Back in the cave, Velora was waiting, tears streaking silently down her cheeks. He dropped to his knees beside her, breathing hard. It's done. She pulled him close, pressing her forehead to his. The child is safe. And for the first time, so were they. The jungle had gone still. No wind, no birdsong, only the weight of silence. Elias stood at the mouth of the cave, sword still in hand, breath shallow. Behind him, Velora sat propped against a moss-covered stone, her hand resting protectively over her abdomen. The glow in her markings had dimmed. Her body, though strong, was beginning to wane under the strain of carrying a child never meant to exist. "He's not coming back," Elias said at last. Velora's eyes fluttered open. "Sirak. He'll live. But not as a general." Elias wiped his blade clean. "The wound will remind him that his power ends where life begins." She exhaled, slow and careful. "The council won't stay silent now. The people will demand answers." "They'll get them," Elias replied. "From both of us." She tried to sit straighter, but a sharp twinge stopped her. He moved beside her immediately. "The pain's getting worse," she admitted. "How long?" "Hours. Maybe less." Elias paused. "Then we go now." With Oren's help, they built a stretcher from branchwood and cloth. They moved quickly through the jungle, following hidden trails Elias had mapped in his mind. Velora's condition deteriorated steadily. Sweat coated her skin. Her glow flickered, dimming like a dying star. They reached the base of the spire at dusk. Word had already spread. Zalari citizens, guards, even some council members filled the outer plaza, watching as Elias carried her up the stone steps in silence. No one stopped them. Inside, the high chamber stood empty except for the circle of elders. Sirak was absent, his seat cold. The oldest among them, Elder Teresh, watched Elias with weary eyes. "You return uninvited," Teresh said. "With a half-blood unborn." Elias laid Velora gently on the ceremonial dais, then stood tall before them. "I return with truth," he said. "And the right to speak it." Teresh leaned forward. "Speak, then. We are listening." Elias didn't pace. He didn't shout. He spoke simply. "You asked me to bond. I did. You asked for strength, I gave it. Now you doubt the outcome because it wasn't yours to control." A murmur rolled through the chamber. Elias continued. "You talk of purity. But what has it brought? War. Silence. Graves with no names. What Velora carries isn't weakness. It's possibility." Velora's voice, weak but clear, followed his. "My child will not destroy what we are. It will complete what we lack." Teresh frowned. "The people are not ready." "Then let them see," Elias said, reaching for the pendant around his neck. He tapped it once. A projection burst into the air, a vision from the memory tree. The unborn child, glowing with shared lineage, surrounded by humans and Zalari standing as one. Not warriors. Not diplomats. Just people. The room fell into stunned silence. Then Elder Ishari stood. This vision, was it shared willingly? Velora nodded. "It was mine. I offered it. As proof. As hope." Teresh turned to the others. "The rite has been fulfilled. The bond stands. What remains is our decision." The elders convened in murmured voices for several minutes before the vote was called. One by one, they raised their hands. 6 in favor. 2 against. Teresh turned toward Elias and Velora. "The union is sanctioned. The child is protected. And so are you." Weeks passed. Velora's recovery was slow but steady. The spire transformed. Guards were reassigned to diplomacy. The High Council opened its chambers to both species. Elias remained at her side not as a guest, not as a symbol, but as a partner. One evening, beneath a sky streaked with lavender moons, Elias sat beside her as she hummed softly, hand resting on her now round belly. "They kicked today," she said, smiling faintly. "They?" Elias asked. She nodded. "Twins." He blinked. "Seriously?" Velora laughed, soft, musical. "You humans are more potent than you look." Elias rubbed his brow. "I'm going to need twice the armor." She took his hand and placed it gently where the movement pulsed. He felt it, small, fluttering, real. "I used to think strength was silence," she said. "Now I know it's choosing to love despite the noise." Elias looked at her. "And I thought strength was standing alone." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "Not anymore." The day of the Unity Accord was clear and warm. In the Grand Plaza of Zaleria 9, beneath banners stitched with both Earth and Zalari symbols, Elias and Velora stood before thousands. Behind them, a new monument rose, 2 hands, one human and one Zalari, carved from living crystal, entwined around a glowing heart. Velora stepped forward first. For generations, we believed difference was danger. That emotion was weakness. That peace could only come after victory. She turned to Elias. But then a human walked into our fire and stayed. Elias followed. I didn't come here to be a hero. I came because I was tired of burying the dead. I stayed because I saw something worth saving. He looked at Velora. And someone worth loving. The crowd stood in stunned quiet. Then a single voice, young, trembling, cheered. Others followed. In seconds, the square thundered with applause. That night, in the sanctum now converted into their shared home, Elias locked his sidearm away for the last time. He stepped onto the balcony, coffee in hand, and found Velora waiting. Her glow reflected the stars. She leaned into him. "Do you regret it?" she asked. He kissed her temple. Not for a second. They stood together in silence, listening to the gentle hum of a world finally at peace. And when the wind shifted, carrying with it the sound of distant laughter, they both smiled. Because for the first time in history, the heart had done what weapons never could. It had conquered.